Welcome to Mondays with Maxwell. My name is Mark Cole. I'm the president and CEO of the John Maxwell Leadership Enterprise. I believe every one of you watching this right now is just like John. You welcome Mondays because you look forward to starting your week off looking for ways to value people. And since today is Monday, my friends, let's hear from the man of the hour. He is our leader, our friend, John C. Maxwell.
Hi, John Maxwell here. I'm so glad you're with us again on one of our Mondays with Maxwell. Again, every Monday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. I want you to be with me. I want to be with you. 20 minutes for right now, for the next few months, just on what I call the Best Advice series. Just 20 minutes, me talking about good advice I've heard from someone else that I'm passing on to you, or best advice that I've heard from another great leader that I want to pass on to you. In other words, I think after, 2 or 3 months, you're going to become some of the wisest people in the world. I mean, think of all the good advice that you're receiving. In fact, one of my favorite things when I have dinner is to ask the question, what's the best advice that you ever received? Who gave it to you, and why was it the best advice? And I love going around the table, hearing it, and I'm over there with my iPhone all the time, and I'm putting their responses down. I've done this dozens of times at dinners. I've never had a time where when I finished, didn't walk away with something that was absolutely life-changing and helpful to me. And that's what I'm thinking about Mondays with Maxwell, that as we talk about advice, you're going to say, hey, I got to get in this. I got to hang with John for 20 minutes because he's going to share something with me that's going to be a good advice for my life, for my family, for my community, for my business, okay? That's what we're doing it for. And remember, our purpose on Mondays with Maxwell's are very simple. We want to, first of all, add value to you. Secondly, I want to brag just a little bit. If you'll just let me, I want to brag on my John Maxwell team and the members and my coaches because they are literally changing their world, and I'm so proud of them. And then thirdly, as a father, as a mentor, I want to come into your life and give you something that will not only help you, but a father always wants what's best for his or her children. And at my age, it could be grandchildren. And that's what I want for you. I want what's best for you. I want you to be able to stand on my shoulders. I want you to go higher than I've ever gone. I want you to go further than I've ever gone. And so as a review really quickly, in our first 2 weeks, I gave you some best advice. I talked to you the first week about always bring something to the table, and people need recognition, give it to them. And then we talked with Ed Bastian, and I shared with you that Ed said that during a difficult time, he thought the most important quality in a leader's life is humility. And then he said humility allows us to be marked in a meaningful, useful, purposeful way. So today I'm going back to some advice that I would share with you that I've got from others that I hope will be very helpful to you. I think it will be. But before I do that, I'm often asked, what are the qualities I look for when I mentor someone? And I'm just going to give them to you. I don't have time to teach them, but this is just going to be a little add-on perhaps that would help you, because when I'm looking for somebody to mentor, I want them to be hungry. In other words, I just really want them to want to learn. I want them to be teachable. I want them to have influence, because the more influence they have, the greater return I'm going to have on my mentoring time with them. I want them to have capacity so that I can take them a lot further than where they are right now. I want them to be action-oriented. In other words, very simple. I want this to be more than a philosophical discussion. I want them to go do something after we're done with the mentoring. And right at the top of my qualities I look for when I mentor someone is I want them to mentor someone else. I want them to take what I've given to them and reproduce it. And as you think about those 6 things I just gave you on Mondays with Maxwell, I really want you to be taking what I give to you and passing it on to your team, your friends, other people. And by the way, ask them to come be with us online. Tell them that we want them to be with us on Mondays with Maxwell, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So let me give you some advice that I received. I'm going to, first of all, share something with you that my brother gave to me many, many years ago. It's a business advice. but it's been very, very helpful to me. Here's what he said. He said, John, control your destiny by controlling your dollars. Now, you might look at that and say, wow, that could be a kind of like maybe a greedy grab in the business world, but it really isn't. Let me go underneath that advice that my brother gave to me. Control your destiny by controlling your dollars. He then sat down and said, really, there are only two benefits of money. One is it gives you options. It sure does. That's a huge benefit. If you have some financial resources, you can choose how you travel. You can choose where you travel. You just get all kind of options in life. Okay, so we all know that. And the second benefit of dollars is how you can help other people. By living a generous life and by living a significant life of wanting to make a difference in people's lives, money really allows you to do that. And I put that as the foundation as we talk about the different, what I'm going to call in a moment, streams of income. Why do we have this? Why do we want this? Well, I hope that it does give you options, but I also hope that you have a generous heart and generous spirit, and you realize that as I am a person of faith, God only gives to you what he knows will flow through you. So here's what Larry taught me. He said, John, what you want to do is you want to have at least 3 streams of income. And so he sat me down. Now, you have to understand, he's always been a very successful business person. I started off of a pastor. I had literally a couple decades in my life, I had nothing. I mean, I didn't go into the ministry to make money. That wasn't the purpose. I went into the ministry to help people and add value to them. So he was really having to kind of teach me the kind of 101 stuff. And he said, you want to have 3 streams of income. And he said, 2 of them can be active, but he said one needs to be passive. So, what do you mean by passive income, Larry? Well, that means that you don't have to work for the dollars, but the dollars work for you. And so he said, you need to make sure that you have at least one passive stream of income so that you don't have to always put in time for it, but you're still going to reap some benefit from it. And so at the time he gave me that advice, I only had one stream of income. And so he helped me, and over a process of time, I got to 2 and I got to 3. And then I passed his 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7. I have 8 now. Thanks to him, thanks to his teaching. And 4 of those streams are active, 4 of those streams are passive. But I tell you all that not to talk and major on money near as much as I talk about that to tell you what an incredible benefit, not only in options, but in giving that has been for me, because this is huge. And by the way, Brian Tracy, I can still remember having lunch with Brian Tracy in San Diego at POE's over on Coronado Island. And Brian shared with me, because I was in the speaking field, just like there are streams of income, he said there need to be streams of business. And one of the things he taught me, oh my gosh, 25 years ago? Was he said, John, you need to get an international market just as you have a national market. So, and he told me someday maybe the national market dries up, where the international market can still keep you going, or vice versa. And he said, you just want to have even streams of business within the business. Now that's another story, okay? But again, I am so indebted to the advice I've received from so many people who have helped me do so much better. But now let's go back to those streams of income. I was speaking for Microsoft, and I was speaking to their leaders, about not a lot of their people, about, maybe 70, 75 of them. Basically, they were the presidents of each country of Microsoft around the world. And I spent a whole day doing leadership with them. We did the 5 levels of leadership, which we do for a lot of organizations and a lot of companies. And so in the question and answer time, one of the Microsoft executives said, John, could you talk to us about your financial goals in life? And I smiled and I said, well, I can, but to be honest with you, I don't think you would be interested in my financial goals. Well, The moment I told them they wouldn't be interested, guess what? They became even more interested. And I wasn't trying to play a game with them. My financial journey and purpose and goals are different than probably yours. And it's okay. But they're mine. And they give me great purpose. And so that day at Microsoft, they kind of kept pressing me. Finally, I said, well, I'll be glad to give them to you. But I really only have one simple goal. And that is that every year I want to increase my standard of giving. Now, immediately they looked at me because, they were thinking, how do you increase the standard of your living? And that advice my brother gave me increases your standard of living. But here's what I don't want you to miss. There's only one reason I want to increase my standard of living. I already have all I need. The only reason for me to increase my standard of living is so that I can increase my standard of giving. You cannot give what you do not have. And so that advice from my brother Larry, wow, life-changing advice for me. And often, in fact, just the other day we were talking and I just thanked him one more time. He has helped me immeasurably in the business world. Now, the advice I want to give you today on this lesson, the second one is okay, when I started writing books, I wasn't good writing books. I really wasn't. I only wrote books not because I wanted to write books. I wrote books because I wanted to increase my influence beyond my personal touch. That was my only, and still is basically my only desire to write books. I want to reach more people. I want to help people like you. And so I had a mentor named James, and he was a terrific writer himself and had sold a lot of books, and he was very successful. And he took me under his wings. And so I'll never forget, about, I think it was either my fifth or sixth book, came off the press. I got the first one, and I flew out to Colorado where he lived, and I had dinner with he and his wife, the three of us, and I showed him my new book, and I signed it. I said, it's the first one on the press. I want to thank you for helping me. I want you to have it. And I'll never forget, he looked at the book with a kind of a approving smile, and just like a mentor saying, kind of basically, John, I'm proud of you. And then what he said changed my life. He asked me, he said, John, is this your best book? And I said, yeah, it's my best book. And it was. It was really only my fifth book, I think. And so you got to understand, you got to put quotation marks around best. But it was my best effort, that was for sure. And when he asked me if it was my best book, and I said yes, I'll never forget, he looked at me and he smiled and he said, good. Because remember, John, you're only as good as your last book. Those words changed my life. That day, he helped me understand readers' expectations. Now, this could be also leaders' expectations. This could be speakers' expectations. Here's what he helped me understand that day. He helped me understand that when a person reads a book of yours, they give you certain level. I don't know whether maybe it's out of 100, maybe it's an 85. Okay, you're kind of an 85. Okay, it's worth maybe buying the next book. And basically, when he asked me if it was my best book, what he was saying is never live off of a previous work of yours thinking that they'll forgive you for a less work today. In other words, when you write your sixth book, John, don't say, well, I've already got 5 and I already got a following, and so they'll basically read anything I write, and so you just kind of start lowering your standards and the standards and the expectations of people, because he said, John, you want them to look at your book. He said, you want to be so good that when they see your name, they buy the book. And then, by the way, they may look at the title. That teaching was huge. That day, he taught me about expectations, because we deal with expectations in 3 different dimensions. The expectations that we have for ourselves, the expectations that we have for others, and the expectations that others have for us. That day, he said, people have expectation of you, John, when you write a book. You've set a certain standard. Never disappoint them. Never surprise them. Never give them less than what they would expect from you. Always keep moving that excellence slowly up. When I have pre-calls for companies, I speak for a lot of companies, I always like to have, 20, 30 minutes pre-call before I go speak for them. And the purpose is to find out what their expectations are. And Linda Eggers, who's been my assistant for plus 30 years, she's on the call always with me, and we make sure we get their expectations. Now, the reasons I get their expectations is not to meet them. The reason I get their expectations is to exceed them. Meeting expectations. Are you kidding me? Can't we do better? In fact, I get their expectations of what they want from me when I come to speak so that it can be the floor that I stand on. That's the beginning. And then the ceiling is exceeding those expectations. And the expectations, what my mentor James taught me that day is the expectations that we have of ourselves should be higher than the expectations that others have of us. And I have listened to that advice, and I've taken that advice, and I tried to live that advice all of my life. Why? It's very simple. Because I never want to disappoint my reader. I never want to disappoint you on a Monday with Maxwell. I want to be reliable, dependable. I want you every Monday to say, 20 minutes with John are going to be exceptional. They're going to help me. He's going to give me always a takeaway, something that's going to make me a better person, make me a better leader, make me a better follower. You see, every Monday with Maxwell, our time together has to build and be a little bit better than the previous one. I never want to disappoint you. My mentor that day said, never allow your reader to start guessing about you. I wonder if this is going to be a good book. The last book he wrote, it wasn't up to par. I wonder if I should buy this or not. He said, never put your reader in a dilemma. Always have a level of excellence in your life and a consistency with that excellence that they know what they're getting. Jack Welch, wonderful friend of mine that passed away, he had an expression, and basically he said, get out of the people pile. His expression was the fact that in every organization, there's a pile of people, and the only way that you can ever get out of the pile, get your head above everybody, and for somebody to see you, is by exceeding those expectations. I referred to a lunch I had with Brian Tracy. I also have a quote of his that I want to pass on to you quickly. And he said, your success in your career will be in direct proportion to what you do after. Don't miss this. What you do after you've done what you were expected to do. So let me read to you what I wrote in my notes just to make sure that you get this. Set your standards high and keep them high. If you're interested in success, it's easy to set your standards in terms of other people's accomplishments and then let other people measure you by those standards. But the standards you set for yourself are always more important. They should be higher than the standards anyone else would set for you, because in the end, you have to live with yourself and judge yourself and feel good about yourself. And the best way to do that is to live up to your highest potential. So set your standards high and keep them high, even if you think no one else is looking. Somebody out there will always notice, even if it's just you. Abraham Lincoln said when he finished his presidency, he said, I want to be able to live with myself. And my mentor that day helped me to understand you can never rest on success. You can only build on success. The day that I rest, the day I expect yesterday to carry me through today, is the day I've stopped adding value to others and I've just started watching out for myself. That's not what you want. It's not what I want. That's why we have Mondays with Maxwell, so we can get better together. And speaking of being better together, I'm very excited because you're about to meet one of my John Maxwell Team coaches that they will tell you they're better because they're together with the John Maxwell Team. Just take out 90 seconds, 2 minutes right now, and just watch this. I think perhaps it'll encourage you to become part of our John Maxwell Team family. I sure would like that. Anyway, watch us. I'm so excited for you to meet my friend Brandon, who is a John Maxwell Team member, and hear his story. But Brandon, before you kind of share with us your story, when did you join the John Maxwell Team?
I joined in 2015.
2015, and you're from Birmingham,
yeah,
right? Birmingham,
absolutely.
Alabama. Okay, we're so glad that you're part of our family. Talk to us about why you joined the John Maxwell Team and how we've maybe added value to you.
Absolutely. So in 2015, I was searching. I was looking really for what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I had an idea of what that may look like, and that was helping people with the struggles that I'd overcome personally, but I didn't know how. And really beyond telling my story, what was I going to say after that? So
yes.
that's where I was at.
And so when you became part of the John Maxwell Team, how did we kind of help you kind of move forward in your success journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So the John Maxwell Team gave me access to transformational content, your life-changing content that's had a tremendous influence on my life since I started in business at 21. So I was able to take that content and also learn how to be a coach, how to be a world-class speaker, and how to grow that business. And so it was life-changing.
And so today, you joined in 2015, right? So today, where are you in your business? I think you shared with me, didn't you, earlier, Brandon, that you're full-time as a John Maxwell Team member. In other words, you're doing contracts with companies and mentoring people. How's it going?
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. It's living the dream, as I call it, doing something I love to do, making a difference. I love specifically working with faith and family-minded men and doing masterminds and coaching them through the struggles of life and everything that comes with that. So it's amazing.
You know, Brandon, when we bring people on our John Maxwell Team, one of our desires is to add value to them. I mean, when they come and be part of our family, I'm just committed completely to making you better. And so Brandon shared with me, I hope you don't mind if I share this, but he shared with me, he's a full-time John Maxwell Team member now, has always done really well in life and in business, but just as a John Maxwell Team member, he's making right now 6 figures. And he's just making a good business and is continually growing. And so if you would like to kind of, be your own boss, be an entrepreneur, take and make life better for other people, if you'd like to add value to them, join Brandon and join the rest of us on our John Maxwell Team. We'd love to have you.
So now we see there is good advice and Andrew advice. Let's call that unadvice. I hope you've enjoyed today's Monday with Maxwell lessons. What's some good advice or some unadvice you've received? Let us know in the comments. And what can we say about our John Maxwell Team members? Every day, they look for ways to lead in and live out Maxwell leadership principles and philosophies. We're so grateful for the John Maxwell Team. Each week, we'll feature a member or mentor from our team who will share their story and their journey with you. Why? Because we want you to see the real stories of difference makers, of value multipliers, and of possibilists. If you want to learn how you too can join John's team of difference makers, go to mondayswithmaxwell.com. Let me say that again. It's Mondays, plural, mondayswithmaxwell.com. Let us know how you saw Mondays with Maxwell and how you want to make a difference. Thank you again for watching today. We'll see you next week for another episode of Mondays with Maxwell.